Hello everyone and welcome to the Ultrasound podcast with me, Tom Evans,
professional trail runner and winner of Western States in 2023.
I'm Brett Saunders, I'm Chief Crew Officer and best man at his wedding.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Ultrasound podcast with your hosts Tom Evans and
Brett Saunders.
And today is episode 5 where we're going to be talking all about racing in ultramarathons.
Absolutely.
So, Brett, I'm actually going to ask you, we're going to change this round a little bit, and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions because for some of the listeners listening, I think they might be thinking about either doing their first ultra or, they've signed up to one and they don't really know how to begin. Talk me, I have crewed you in a race from London to Brighton.
Mm-hmm.
Talk me about your experience of racing your first 100k.
Okay, so first experience of running an ultra was, I think, all the emotions you could possibly go through in a day. Starting off pretty early, and I remember waking up pretty terrified, being like, wow, there's a big challenge ahead of me. Obviously having the confidence knowing that you've done all you can do, and I think on the start line, you can't really change anything. You're there and you've done everything you possibly can do. Well, you've done everything that you're willing to do to get to that start line. I was feeling terrified, but also fully aware that I had confidence in the training that you'd given me and the training that I'd done, that I was going to get through the day pretty well. There was a lot of adrenaline going through me, kind of thinking, right, let's get this underway. Because in my head, nerves are so prolific right up until the start line. As soon as that whistle goes or whatever, it's bizarre. It kind of just changes into kind of head in the game. Let's get on with this. The quicker I get there, the quicker this pain's over.
Exactly.
And I started out really happy, really excited, because you're fit. Like the first 50 kilometers shouldn't be. There should be no dramas, sort of thing, really. So that was good. That was all pretty relaxed, pretty happy. I had you there with me, Christian, and also some other people, my parents, kind of following me down. So you're seeing kind of friendly faces, and I think that helps massively.
For sure.
I think the second half of the race is really when the kind of the ups and downs started. Your legs are tired. It was a hot day. And again, trying to not get ahead of yourself, you're kind of still, there was a bit of a pack there. I was just trying to navigate, trying to know, when do I go, when do I not? Having no experience in running at all, it was very much kind of like, I have no idea what I'm doing here. Obviously had your guidance and whatever the whole way along, but I only saw you kind of 6 or so times along the way. So a lot of the time I was still by myself. But the lows, I think, were just kind of felt like had no energy. You felt like you're going through, running through thick mud. But then I'd see you guys 10 kilometers after, and then the energy would go high, I'd refuel and stuff like that. I was pretty emotional at the end, just being a bit I've completed this. It was a huge thing to complete in my heart, in my eyes. I loved the day. I thought it was an incredible experience, and to be honest with you, itching to do something like it again. The feelings were kind of ups and downs. You are going to feel terrible at some stage. I found anyway. But then the highs just completely overlook. I don't look back at that day and think once about how low I ever felt. I look back at that day thinking how much I enjoyed it, how much the highs were so high. And stuff like that. So that was my experience.
No, I think the nice thing for you to know and for the listeners to know is it's the same for the elite side of the field as well. You're going through all emotions. During the race, you're gonna have highs, you're gonna have lows, you're gonna have absolutely everything in between. Let's take a step back and start from the beginning. Okay,
so obviously you've got the race as it is. Before the race, there's still a few things that have to go into the puzzle to kind of make the performance happen. as an example, you've just come back from Italy in the Dolomites and raced out there. What did you try? Did you try anything new in that build-up that might help to UTMB this year, or?
Yes, I think like race day is a really weird one in racing. So UTMB starts late afternoon,
Yeah.
and Lavaredo and the Dolomites started at 11 p.m. So like you've got the whole day to try and figure out a routine of things that work, that you run. Like I guess the important things are mentally being ready when the race starts.
Yeah.
And then physically fueling enough to so your nutrition.
Yeah.
And then the third one is sort of doing the last bits that you need to do to make sure that you're fully rested and you're ready for a really, really hard effort, because no matter whether you're there to compete or complete the race, it's going to be really tough. So for me, what I focus on so during the day is like nutrition wise, I have everything worked out, and I'll put on I'll have like a sheet with exactly what I need to eat, what time I need to eat, and that kind of just takes care of itself. And at that point, like the food is super boring. I cut pretty much all fiber out of my diet, and I am eating pretty much on repeat rice, some chicken, a couple of eggs. I'm sipping Maurten 320 drink mix throughout the day. And that's pretty much it. Like, it's super boring, it's super beige, but it's just trying to reduce any chances of stomach issues going wrong.
And that's it, just portions of chicken, rice,
much,
and a bit,
small,
maybe an egg.
loads of rice, and then small amounts of protein on the side, and that's pretty much it. With a little bit of, and then the fat literally comes from olive oil. Like, it's super boring, but it's just making sure that trying to minimize the chances of something going wrong from a nutrition standpoint, but also making sure that like you are fully fueled. And it can be really tough when you are racing in different environments. Like if you're in a hotel, for example, like you're kind of reliant, you've not got the ability to cook, so you're kind of reliant on the hotel doing it. So now for races, like I always travel with a rice cooker.
Oh, really?
And I cook rice for myself, and it also means like if you are in a hotel, you've not got to go to race day breakfast at 2 a.m. because I want to eat 3 hours before. So, but a typical race day, like the nutrition kind of takes care of itself, and that's something that I don't feel like I need to change or optimize anymore.
11 p.m. is pretty late, isn't it?
11 p.m. is
You've probably got another meal in between when you normally start UTMB, and then
exactly. But everything I sort of work out. Okay, well I know 90 minutes before the start, I'm going to take Maurten sodium bicarb, especially for races at altitude, because it's just, I find it's by far the most effective lactate buffer out there. And then 90 minutes before that, so 3 hours before the start, I'm then finishing my final meal. And then before that, I have a little snack. So basically I'm eating every 4 hours roughly. And smallish portions. So lots of food, but regularly, just because I don't want to feel really full. I also want to feel pretty good. Thanks to Plasmade for sponsoring the pod. Plasmade is a complementary plant-based adaptogen that has benefits across performance and recovery, as well as reducing travel stress. It's only to be taken pre and or post-race and training sessions, not during. Fundamentally, Plasmade, through its only active ingredient, French maritime pine bark extract, increases endogenous stabilized nitric oxide production, a vasodilator that increases oxygen uptake in the bloodstream and better circulation, as well as triggering powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects. By Plasmade preparing and optimizing the body, the efficiency of your in-race supplementation and hydration intake is increased. So, in summary, you perform better and recover faster. Allow me to introduce you to Plasmade by using the code ULTRA20, that is ULTRA20, at the checkout on the Plasmade websites to receive a 20% discount, and join me in using Plasmade. So the nutrition kind of looks after itself, and it's very boring and it's very plain, and There's no need to change anything. But yeah, what does the day itself look like? Typically wake up for a race like UTMB. I'll wake up as late as I possibly can and get as good a sleep as I possibly can. And typically most mornings anyway start with doing some like mobility, a little bit of activation, and that's something that I definitely still keep in on race day, because yes, a race is a race. A race is a race, but you want things to be as similar to normal life as possible. You don't want to be adding any new things in, because that's when your body things start to go wrong. So yeah, do a little bit of mobility and activation, and I'll then run in the morning. And
you get out on your legs?
A little bit physically, just to sort of get
your body going again.
Your body going a little bit. But for me, it's just mentally. It's just being able to go out on my own and to just calm a few nerves down.
What's going through the headphones at that stage? What are you pumping?
To be honest, for that pre-race, I'm not listening to anything. Like, I want it to be really controlled, and I want to be really calm, and I also want to be completely aware of what's going on in my body.
Yeah.
I want to have this internal dialogue and be fully focused and be fully with the moment and like sync everything up. So yeah, it's probably one of the few runs that I don't use music or podcasts or audiobooks for.
Interesting.
But yeah, I just want to be like fully intimate with myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So get back from running, that's always short. It's like 15, 20 minutes with a couple of efforts at the end. Sort of maybe 3 by 10 second strides. Just the start of UTMB is going to be fast. People are going to sprint off, and you've kind of got to be able to go with it. So sit back a little bit, but you can't be left too far behind. So yeah, just get a little bit of pop, a little bit of spring into your step. Then have some breakfast, and again, breakfast it's super boring. It'll either be sort of rice and an egg or some cornflakes. Super boring. Low residue, no fiber. I think something that I've definitely sort of now tried to bring in is sort of just how you feel your day with things. I'll have a little bit of physio, more so sort of manipulations rather than soft tissue. I don't want things to be loose. I actually want things to be a little bit tighter. Yeah. So yeah, just making sure that like my back is okay and my ankles have just been mobed, just to make sure there's good movement in them. And then it's just about trying to stay off your feet for as much of the day as possible. At this point, I try and leave my phone and put my phone in airplane mode, or just give my phone to someone else who can deal with messages and everything. And that's sort of normally a crew responsibility at that point, to take my phone. Yeah. Because the last thing I want to be doing is scrolling through social media. And actually, there was a really interesting study done last year in 2023 of cyclists doing a 10-mile time trial, which isn't that long, but it was trying to see if there was any difference in performance between scrolling aimlessly through social media in the hours leading up to a race and not scrolling through social media. And those who scrolled through social media performed 14% worse than those who didn't. Just 14% is huge.
Yeah, huge.
So there is real data-driven findings that it is not good. It tires you out by scrolling through social media. So yeah, I will read a book. Yeah. I'll read a book. I'll
keep checked
sleep. I'll watch. I've got a couple of things that I like watching on.
Pre-race or just
pre-race?
Okay.
So just to keep me distracted and like away from doing anything. Like the In-Betweeners is just like
RuPaul's
Drag Race. No, sadly not.
You are a fan though.
I am a huge fan.
Yeah.
That's our first batch of chickens were all named after drag queens. But yeah, I'll watch. Yeah, normally like a very light-hearted comedy series, something that I've watched before. Yeah. And that I'm not like super invested in. Like Jack Whitehall travels with his father. Yeah. Stuff like that. It's all
past the time stuff.
Yeah, past the time. It's really good, and have a bit of a sleep, and so kind of just stay as relaxed. All of the like crew race briefings and all of that stuff has all been done. My kit's all prepped and packed, and my clothes are all laid out and they're ready to go, just so you don't have to worry about it at all. Yeah. Like I don't want to think about the race at all. That's only going to be, even just talking about the race now and thinking about it now, it's making me nervous.
Yeah.
And it's like that nervous energy and that excitement, like that does burn energy.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, typically an hour before the race, or I'll start moving again and, yeah, again, do a little bit of mobility, a little bit of activations.
That's an hour before the gun goes off.
The hour before a
you're
gun
then
goes off.
getting onto your feet, warming things up, starting to get moving, getting to kit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nothing too late. And I guess of just doing the final bits of check and you've got to carry a mobile phone in these races and it needs to be turned on. So just turning on the spare phone that's got nothing on it. And nowadays you actually have to have you used to be able to get away with like a tiny phone. It was like the size of your thumb.
Yeah.
But now they specified that you have to have a smartphone.
Yeah, right.
So we've been doing research in what's the lightest smartphone, and I bought like a Amazon knockoff smartphone that just didn't work at all, and it just broke immediately. So I thought, right, that doesn't work, because at UTMB last year, and that's the phone that I used, it would have been really useful if my phone had worked.
Absolutely right, yeah.
So I have now an iPhone 7S.
Not waterproof though.
No, but it's in a waterproof bag. Everything's waterproof because with your kit, everything's in a waterproof bag because you're obviously going to sweat and pour water on it.
Yeah, of course.
You don't want that to go on your kit because it's going to weigh more.
Yeah.
So phone's in a little waterproof sandwich bag.
Yeah.
But the lightest good smartphone that will work is an iPhone 7S. I think I picked up from, it was some super random website. But I think I paid like £23, like 25 euros for this iPhone 7S.
Wow.
And it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Doing like the last bits of admin like that. But I think it's about like trying to stay focused without over focusing and over stressing on the race. And I think you can't win a race by having a good day before, but you can definitely lose or unoptimize all of that hard work you've put in, because like you said, there's nothing you can do.
Do you think you've noticed before when you've raced ultras that you've had too much time on your feet before the day before that has actually affected you in that?
100%.
Really?
100%. And it's such a huge part. Even like doing media the day before, or 2 days before, like it is draining. And now, like, I guess we try and be really proactive with doing the things that you need to do as a professional athlete, doing meet and greets, photo shoots, videos, whatever it is, but doing it in the days before by we'll race on Friday. Like Tuesday is, if you want to do anything with me, Tuesday is your last opportunity, because I'm not doing anything on Wednesday and Thursday. And like, it's super interesting with UTMB, like the pro athletes are kind of expected to do media for them in the days before. And actually, look, last year, the one athlete who said no to doing media was Jim.
Yeah, he had a serious performance.
And he had an incredible performance. And do I think the reason why he won was because he didn't do media? No. But it's definitely a contributing factor. He was by far the most professional in the days leading up to it. So, the things that, yes, it's good for the race, it's good for your publicity.
I mean, all of these things that you're saying, that it all seems very structured, and like as you've mentioned before, you have been a very structured person in the way you've grown up. Are you pretty open to trying new things, like in the build up to a race? Like, are you trying new things, like in new races that you're doing? So obviously you've had 2 races this year in Transvolcania, and then Volconia, and then Lavaredo.
You sound like Hermione Granger. We're Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Did you try new things in either of them, or is it just black and white? This is what I do. This is always what I'm going to do, and that's that.
I think when things go well, it's very easy to like have that as a blueprint and keep them like that until they start not going well, and you might want to change things up. Like, I don't have any real superstitions with anything. Like, I don't have a lucky pair of shorts, or I don't have to put. I used to have to put my left sock on before my right sock, and if I didn't, I had convinced myself I was going to have a bad race. But working with the sports psychologist,
changed that pretty quickly.
Managed to tell me that's just so irrational and completely irrelevant. If you put your left sock or your right sock on first, it's not going to make you have a great race or a bad race.
Absolutely right.
But I think people do. You see these people with these superstitions.
But like mind space and stuff like that, it's on their mind. They're thinking about it. The clearer their mind, the better the run they're going to have. Well, hopefully.
Yeah, I've a good friend who used to play for Exeter Rugby Club, and he used to have to turn on and turn off the light switch of his bedroom 14 times before he left for a game. Otherwise, he thought that his whole family were going to get killed. Like
That is quite rational. That is quite.
But like, thankfully, that problem was solved. But like at the top of the game, people have got these like irrational superstition things, and like I think it's amazing that these things can really get into your mind, and you can get so worked up about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes someone else to come in and be like,
Come on, mate.
how can we sort it? Yeah, you're not going to fix it overnight, but what can you do? So I think like it's really interesting.
Really interesting.
Yeah, and I think listeners, if you guys have got like a pre-race superstition, is there anything that you guys have got to do before a race, send it in and we'll share it on the next episode.
Absolutely.
So it'll be really interesting.
Really interesting. There's got to be loads out there.
There's got to be loads in all,
especially
all sorts of shapes and sizes. No, it'd be really interesting to listen to that.
Yeah. So have you tried anything new?
That was sorry, that's
a
very long-winded answer.
No.
I guess I've tried some things, and I guess it all like slightly pieces together, doing like, trying different nutrition things. And I found like beetroot, and it's basically nitric oxide, I found really upsets my stomach.
Oh, really?
Even if I take it really early, and I tried it again this year because I thought actually for cross country world championships, what a great time to try something new, and in the cross country season trying these new things. And it was not pretty.
Oh, really?
It's probably the best way. We don't need to go into any more.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll probably leave that one there.
Not pretty at all.
Interesting.
So now I've kind of got a blueprint that works, but I guess it changes. It's not like each race starts at 9 a.m. Like the start for Western States and start for UTMB are 12 hours apart.
Yeah.
So it's a very different
process.
Process, but following a very similar timeline.
Yeah.
Beforehand.
So I just want to jump in and say a massive thank you for Garmin for sponsoring. I've been using Garmin now for over 6 years, and it was actually my first watch that I bought when I was in the army. Now, as a professional athlete, I use Garmin 24/7 to measure not just my training, but my HRV and also tracking my sleep. For me, I find the most valuable things about my Garmin is using the features such as Pace Pro and Climb Pro for when I'm racing. This really helps me to gauge the effort, especially going uphill, to make sure that I don't go too hard too soon and I'm able to finish the race off in style. Finally, and I think the most important thing, is the battery life. Having a watch that can last longer than you can out on the trails is an absolute game changer, and looking forward to using Garmin for the rest of the season.
Moving on slightly different topic, but actually getting involved into the actual race. What would you say? I mean, obviously we all hope things to go perfectly every race and whatnot, but what are the mistakes that you have made in ultra running and ultra races that are pretty clear and obvious and stick with you?
I think one of the biggest things up until pretty recently, I would go in with like an outcome-based goal. I'm doing this race because I want to win. Rather than now, I guess. And and if things didn't go to plan, then you're kind of left not really knowing what to do. And you can't control so much stuff going on in a race. You can't control whether someone's going to go really fast off the front. You can't control what the weather's going to be doing. You can't control any of that. So like now, instead of going in with like an outcome goal, I've got all I want to do is get to the start line in the best possible shape.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to win these races, as any professional athlete does. Like I'd be lying if I said I didn't like winning races.
Yeah.
But if there's someone better than me on the day, like there's actually nothing you can do about that. And you hope that everyone has a good day, because I like competition, I like being competitive, and I love racing. But now I go into a race with like very structured, like process-driven goals. So for Lavaredo, for example, it was a 120-kilometer race. I broke that down into 4 different stages, and that was where the aid stations were. So basically 30 kilometers for each stage.
Yeah.
So the process goal that I had for the first 30 kilometers was don't be at the front.
Okay.
Whatever you do, do not take the wind, let someone else dictate the pace, sit behind, and just relax and go into it. And that's pretty similar to what I actually did at Western States. I didn't front run from the very beginning. I sort of just sat back and relaxed until the first aid station at Robinson Flat. At Lavaredo, then, my second process goal was for nutrition, just to make sure that I was consuming 120 grams of carbohydrate, which is slightly higher than I had been doing, but actually worked really well. And it was really good having that process, because it just helped to keep me really centered and really focused on exactly what was going on. And that's something I can control. Like if my goal was to run, I want to run this split, or I want to be at the front at this point. You can't control that. You don't know what it's going to do. I can control how much I'm eating. That's something like, it's so simple to do. And actually, by having that process, when you then achieve it, you're giving yourself, it's like self-gratification instantly. That's the first hour I did consume 120 grams in that. Like, you're getting little wins the whole time. The third process goal was to like embrace the pain and like really lean into the suffering. And like at that point in an ultra, you know that it's gonna start happening. So when like that pain and that discomfort did happen, like, God, I wanted to drop out the race. Like,
what sort of distance are you there?
90k.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I really 80 to 90k. The reason for doing this race was to learn and to practice things and to get a snapshot of where I was and what I needed to improve on. By 80k, I thought that I had that already.
Okay.
Like, I knew what I needed to work on, and that wasn't going to change for the next 40 kilometers. But I knew it was going to get tough, and I had planned for it to be tough. And I knew when it was getting tough, I was then able to practice this process-driven goal of leaning in and embracing the pain and getting comfortable being uncomfortable, like whatever you want to call it. That was my plan. So when things did get really tough, which they did, I knew it was going to happen, and I just leant into it. I was like, great, bring it on. Here we go. And then only for the final 30 kilometers, my process goal was to race, to enjoy it. Everything goes out the window. Yes, still, nutrition is still incredibly important, but don't worry about that. Race, enjoy it. See what happens, roll the dice, play your cards, do whatever. And
did you think you managed to do that?
Yeah, 100%. And like, so it didn't matter that I didn't win. Like, I was so happy with finishing second, and behind Hannes was incredible. The better man on the day won. But I followed all of my process goals. I achieved everything that I wanted to achieve from that race.
I remember so well. We were stood at the last checkpoint in at the Western States run. Scott was next to us, and we were talking. We thought you might have come through a bit earlier than what you did, just from looking at the tracking and stuff like that and how it was going. And then Scott just like pulled up your splits and whatever, and he said the conversation that me and Tom had before this is that he was going to hit these times the whole way through, and you came through and it hit pretty much exactly that. And it's like, this is Tom's in control here, and that is why the day went so well, because you didn't change anything. And I remember very well Dakota Jones into Robinson Flat. Christian overheard him and his camp saying, this is where we break Tom. And you go back to it, he was thinking about you in his head. You weren't thinking at all. You didn't come up to us and say, this is it, I'm taking Dakota on now, I'm running. He was thinking about you. And then what happened. But like you said, it's so important that you're not going to be at the front the whole time. Maybe you might be. But
and if that's your plan, fine. But
UTMB in 2000, the year before, when you came third.
That was.
You ran your race, and
we were
people
like 5th, 6th place. And people came back, and that was the plan. I ran the splits. I wanted to run around 20 hours, and I ran like 2010, 2012 or something. So, but like, it's like if you've got a lot of things to do on the weekend, lots of small jobs to do, you do a to-do list and you tick them off. Because if you don't do that, you might do some, you might not do others, you might not do them very well, you're probably not very organized with time. And it's the same for an ultra. It's just like, okay, this is just like a flow chart of, okay, cool, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. And like, for me, breaking a race down, and it's not just like, I break the race down not just necessarily with time, because I think time in a race is kind of out of your control, but like the terrain isn't going to change. So I'll try and break down the race in like, distances or like from checkpoint to checkpoint, because I know that's like the firm marker in the ground. And at UTMB it might be really wet and slippery, and actually you end up running an hour slower overall than you planned, and there's nothing you can do about that. But for me, like, I think it's super, super important to have those like bite-sized chunks of the races for something to focus on. And one of like the big tips that I do is with my Garmin, so for a race like UTMB, I will have 4, possibly 5 different GPX files and maps of the race. And I won't look at the whole race as a whole, because that's terrifying, looking down at your watch and it tells you you've got 158 kilometers left to go.
Yeah.
I'd so much rather look down and see, oh, you've actually only got 28 kilometers to go, even though you're only an hour in.
So every little section you have.
Every little section
interesting.
between the crewed aid stations, because something that I really look forward to in a race is seeing my crew. And that's why picking the right crew is so important. Whether it's you, whether it's Soph, whether it's my family, like my mum has crewed me before. It's something I really, really look forward to in races.
Yeah.
So having that there, and it then allows you, like, one of the main screens that I use on my Garmin is the route profile.
Yeah.
So you can see where you are on a climb and how close you are, and it just breaks it down and it makes it super, super manageable. Because if you had a huge job at work for you, like, you would break it down into little chunks. What can I do today that's going to take me a step closer to being able to finishing it tomorrow, rather than thinking, oh, I need to do everything now. Like, it's super overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like, so by going in, like, really structured, really organized, can only be beneficial. And that's not just for the professional athletes. That's for those trying to break the cutoff times at the back. But, like, if you just have something that you can do, whether it's every hour or it's every 20 minutes, and actually something that, like, psychology-wise, something that we've focused on is I'll take like 3 points and get them printed out. Soph bought this like little dymo sticker machine, for example, and I've got one stuck on each of my poles, so I can look down and I can see that little like key tip or hint or key word that sort of just helps to center me and keep me focused, and keep me focused on the task at hand. And for Lavaredo, my key points were head up, so keep looking up, don't look down. Like, when you look down, like, physically it's really tough, but then also like mentally and physically, like, keep your head up. If things are going badly, keep your head up. The second one was pole with purpose. Like, don't just pay lip service to using your poles. And so if you see so many people just, they're using poles, but they're not using them properly. Actually use them properly. And then the third one I'm going to keep for a surprise, because it'll be the same one. It was really, really effective, and I'll use it for UTMB. So if anyone sees it UTMB, it will be probably, it will be on one of my poles. They're not like, you don't have a left pole and a right pole, so it'll be on one of them. So if anyone gets to nab a picture of that, you'll be, you can see exactly what's the most important thing for me mentally going into races. But I would 100% recommend that for anyone. You see people writing it on, like, either little notes in there from their aid stations, or people writing notes on gels that they're being given. Like, all of that stuff all really helps. And it just breaks it down, and it helps to keep people focused and motivated. And I guess that's an incredibly long-winded answer of what have I done wrong in a race. But actually, like, I feel like we've covered some really good things. And I guess it's similar to what you said at the beginning. Like, you only saw us every 6. You saw me 6 times in your 100K race. So every like 10 miles you saw us, every 16K you saw me. And it was something that you really look forward to. And actually you just get from, don't worry about the last section now, because
you're so far away from that.
You might not get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why bother worrying about the final descent from Flagey into Chamonix? When you're in Contamine. Or you're at Arnuva. Like, it's such a long way away. Don't worry about that stuff yet. Let's just enjoy the moment, enjoy the now. Deal with what's in front of you. Slightly plan. You can plan for what's going on, but whatever you plan, it's not going to happen.
We'll get to that next section when we're going to get there.
Exactly. And if you get there, brilliant. And if you don't, well, such is life. But you do everything you can to get to that section. I guess that's the same with life. Like, you start your job at the bottom. one day you might get promoted and work all the way through and be your own boss.
Yeah.
But don't worry about the decisions you're going to make as a CEO now when you're on your day one.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Like,
right,
build your way up there. Like, enjoy the journey, follow the journey, love that journey,
Yeah.
and get the most out of it, because you're here in the now. Don't, a bit of visualization is great. Crossing the finish line, winning a race. That's what everyone wants to do.
Yeah.
Huge thank you for Maurten for sponsoring. I started testing with Maurten in 2017 and was one of the first athletes in the UK to use it, and I've been using it every season since. I use the whole range of products, including the Drink Mix 320, the Gel 160, and more recently, sodium bicarbonate. The hydrogel allows me to hit high carbohydrate goals with no stomach issues to make me feel my best on race day. Go and give Maurten a go and fuel yourself for your next race. To benefit from your one-time code and get 20% off your next purchase on Maurten.com, simply enter the code ULTRASOUND20 at the checkout. Valid until the 30th September 2024. The code is applicable on all products except the Maurten Bicarb System.
Do I want to win UTMB this year? Yes. Am I going to? I don't know.
Yeah.
If I have the best training ever, am I going to win UTMB? I don't know. It's not up to me.
Yeah.
There might be someone better on the day. I might have a good day. I might have a bad day.
We'll deal with that the last weekend in August.
I will control what I can control, and I will do everything in the training now to try and help me get closer to that goal.
You don't want to throw away. Yeah, you don't want to throw away the next few weeks training, because actually you've got to enjoy. This is all part of.
Yeah.
This is all part of crossing that line.
And at the end of the day, I can't control what other people are going to do.
Yeah.
I might have my very, very best day
Yeah.
ever and run the best I've ever run
Yeah.
for the whole race. Don't have a single problem, and I finish 6th.
Yeah.
And that's it. So yeah, I guess that my biggest mistake is going into a race with an outcome-driven goal, wanting to win a race, but actually.
And I guess this
I
kind
don't
of
enjoy it.
yeah, this kind of comes on to the next question. But you kind of answered it in terms of like how detrimental that was, and I guess is there an example of a race that has been detrimental in that you have thought about just going in with that mentality of I need to get a result here, not going through the process?
UTMB 2023, after winning Western States, no man, I should say, has ever won Western States and UTMB in the same year. That was my goal.
Yeah.
And I didn't focus on the small things.
Yeah.
I focused on my goal was to win.
Yeah.
Which is so naive. It's so arrogant. And yeah, there has been such a huge change from me being able to identify the things that I did wrong. Like I didn't run particularly badly. Yes, I had COVID. That didn't help. But I went in with the wrong mentality.
Yeah.
I went in with the wrong attitude. I didn't respect the race or probably the competitors enough, and I didn't focus on me.
Was that you? This is quite an interesting one. I don't know how deep you want to go into it, but was that you being like, you know, like tunnel vision? Like, I'm not listening to everyone around me. Were people telling this to you? Like, were people saying to you, you know, there's a big task here, you need to think about these broken down little pieces into the puzzle? Or was it just, you know what, yeah, I'll listen to you, but you know what, deep down, like, no one's done this before, I want to be that first person, and that's my tunnel vision?
I actually think the really interesting thing with this, and a reason why some of my team has changed since UTMB last year, is no one told me that.
Yeah.
There was no one saying, actually, Tom, the only person who said it, the only person who, and it comes across super negative, but it's one of the best lessons I've ever learned in running, was from my dad saying, enjoy the races because this might be your last win. And that's what he said. He said that to me the day after after Western States, sorry.
Yeah.
This might be the last time you ever win, so enjoy it. And at the time you just think, oh, you're being super, I'm going to win again. I'm going to win UTMB in 8 weeks' time.
Yeah.
He was the only person, and that was the only person who, it's not putting doubt in, it's not being negative, it's just re-centering. Everyone was saying, oh yeah, Tom, you can do this, you can do this.
There's a reason no one's done it before.
There's a and I definitely don't think it's impossible.
No.
But sometimes being a yes man is brilliant.
Yeah.
But actually, I think it's one of the biggest failures from me and when I say me, I also include my team around me, was, yes, people are being super positive to it, but maybe people weren't being realistic.
Yeah.
And that stems from me. And sometimes you don't have to be the most popular person to actually say, had someone said to me, look, Tom, you've had an amazing Western States.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. You've already got a place at UTMB next year.
Yeah.
Yes, no one's done it before. That doesn't mean that no one's going to do it.
Yeah.
But you've just had the race of your life. Why don't you go to Chamonix, and instead of trying to win the race, why don't you just really go and enjoy it and enjoy Chamonix? Go and do the expo, go and do lots of talks. Yes, you're a performance athlete, but you've had your goal for last year was to win Western States and to bring the best possible race at Western States. I was kind of sort of being, egged on to, I went in wanting to do it for the first time, and there was no one who was there to act as a bit of a sounding board and be like, look, I don't want to be really negative here, but so I think it's really interesting.
It's actually incredibly interesting you said that, because yesterday when I was out on the bike, I remember I was actually thinking about this, like about joggle. And this isn't the topic, but it was one of those things that was like, you sat me down when you said, maybe we push this to the year after. And
so for those who don't know, joggle is John O'Groats to Land's End run. So it's from the two furthest points in the UK that Brett attempted last year. Yeah. And it's an incredibly difficult challenge to do for anyone, whether you're an amateur or a pro. And I think the world record's 9 days. Yeah. I think the record's around 9 days. Yeah. So that's a bit of background. And
But so what I was going on to, and it is going to be one of my next points, is it's so easy as a runner, being pro or amateur sort of thing, you, especially in the moment of running and whatever, you get so caught up in, I need to get this time now, I need this time now. I was so adamant that I needed to do John O'Groats to Land's End at that moment. Yeah. Time was not... At the time, I thought I had to do it then. Regardless of that, it didn't happen. It turned into a way better and bigger experience for everyone involved. We ended up cycling the rest of it. But this is where I get onto my next point of, like, how do you navigate?
And I guess taking a step back, we had the conversation
this time last year.
2-3 months before, saying like, look, I don't think you're ready, and it's a really tough decision. But I think that's where you realize the people who truly care about you. It's not being negative. It's just saying like, look, there is a lot of pressure. There is a lot of stress with this. Yeah. You're doing something incredible. No one cares whether it's this year or next year, but you might not be ready.
But my point also being is that was this time last year. Like, at the moment last year, I was like, but next year, September seems so far away. But now it's like 2 months away, and like... It is what it is, and things will always be. So, and hindsight is an incredible thing. But I think a key point, like you said massively, is like, just sometimes have that sounding board to know what you're not doing is like irrational.
I think having people in your team being really positive and being people is brilliant. But sometimes you do need someone to. Yeah, maybe like snap you out of it a little bit, and they genuinely want the best for you, which I hugely admire. Yeah. But sometimes, it takes the best people to bring you back down to earth.
Absolutely
right.
Right.
And actually, my biggest regret from last year was not celebrating and not enjoying Western States
enough.
Hardly at all. Yeah, I got back into training a week after Western States,
which is mad, because what went into that was just incredible.
It's so much went into that, both physically and mentally. And my biggest regret was trying to be greedy and race UTMB. And yes, had it gone really well, I'm sure it would have been different. But like hindsight, looking back on it now, I knew things weren't going to go well. Yeah,
but I think it's I mean, these things happen, isn't it? People, Anyway, it is what it is. how would you say that you have any kind of mechanisms to help you navigate these moments in races? So, for example, do you ever go through aid stations, not pick up the amount of gels that you need? I know that kind of comes down to like the crewing and what that communication, but these things happen. How do you navigate a situation where you don't have enough gels and then you're going back out for another 5-6 hours without seeing someone again?
I've done it before. 2018 in Chamonix racing CCC that I went on to win, but I left Valacine aid station, so with just less than 2 hours of running to go, and I left all my gels and forgot them and completely. And I guess at that point, like, you've just got to be really flexible and adaptable and just go back to the processes of what you need to do. Okay, well, you've not got your gels.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we do now? And it's thinking, okay, well, at the next aid station, I know that I'm going to need to take a little bit longer there because I'm going to be in a bit more of a deficit than I would have been.
Yeah.
I also need to make sure I pick up enough stuff for the final part of the race or for the next chunk of the race because I know I'm going to need to fuel.
Yeah.
But I think dwelling on it too much, like, it is what it is, it's happened, you've kind of got to get on with it. And I think it's really important. And if you go in with a process plan, like with a nutritional process plan, okay, I am going to consume, let's say it's 100 grams of carbs an hour. And actually, the reason why I love Maurten so much is it's like a Lego set. You can just layer things on top of each other. So, okay, cool. My drink mix is 80 grams.
Yeah.
And then the gel 160 is 40 grams. Okay, that's 120 grams an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. That's all I need.
Yeah.
Like, it's really simple. And one of the huge nutritional things is simplicity. And it's the same with race strategies. It's like, be really simple. You don't have to have a plan for every single eventuality because it probably won't happen. But if you know the benchmarks and you know the processes that you need to follow in order to be successful in your race, whether that's winning, finishing, whatever it is, it's kind of irrelevant. Okay, I need to consume this much. In my training, this is what I have decided is the right amount of carbohydrate to consume. Let's say it's 100 grams of carbs. Yeah. You miss a checkpoint. Okay, well, now I know I'm not going to be able to do this. Okay, what can I do to get back on track? Like, okay, well, I've got I will always carry an emergency gel with me. Always. Even if I don't need it, I will always have a gel in case this happens. Because it's one thing that I have identified. It can happen, and it's really important that if it does happen, you can do something about it.
And that has happened to you?
That's happened to me, yeah.
Sorry, apart from the CCC, but has that happened since?
No, it hasn't. But it can happen at any point. And I think the great thing with aid stations in races is there's so much choice you can have, whether it's whether you're having some cheese or some ham, whatever it is in France, or you're having watermelon in the US, or picking up gels, whatever it is. Like, you kind of just make the best out of the situation. Like, what's happened has happened. There's no point in dwelling on it. It's now just like troubleshooting. Okay, the situation has changed. Like, what do I do now in order to compensate for that?
I guess the issue is, like, watermelon's not compensating for a gel.
No, it's not.
But I know it's something.
It's just being able to think in your head.
Yeah, and get...
Okay, like, the goal was to have 100 grams of carbohydrate.
Yeah.
And then doing a bit of research before the race, seeing, okay, like, what fuel is going to be at these aid stations. Okay, well, these gels are going to be here. They might not be the normal ones that you use, but maybe you need to take them. Yeah. Or okay, well, a banana is 25 grams of carbohydrate, and there's going to be halves of banana there. You're like, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to eat a whole banana in the aid station, and then I'm going to take one with me when I leave. Do
you incorporate that into what is going into your packs as well? So obviously, as a crew, we have your packs that go. I mean, are you also allowing for what the aid station is going to have?
It really depends on the
race.
On the race and the distance / time between aid station to aid station. So for the first half of UTMB, yes, and I'll actually use quite a lot from the aid stations provided because it's going to take me 3 hours to get to the Contamine. Yeah. It's then going to take me another 5.5 hours to get to Courmayeur. 5.5 hours is a lot of fuel to carry. Yeah. Like, let's say it's 6 gels and 5 bottles. Yeah. Like, it's a lot to carry. So I will lean into using the aid stations there. Whereas at the end of the course, from Champelac to Trion is hopefully not going to take a huge amount of time. 90 minutes, just over 90 minutes. And then from Trion to Vallecine again, it's about 90 minutes. And
Is
then
that have you got a little breakdown of different, and
Yeah.
is that something you're working on from the
Yeah, it's just the splits that you know roughly you should be.
Mm.
If all goes to plan, if the weather's good and all's in your favour, then because you need to plan, okay, well, this section is going to take me about this long. Let's say it's 3 hours. Okay, cool. 300 grams of carbohydrate. Easy. What does 300 grams of carbohydrate look like?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's 320 drink mixes and 3 smaller gels.
Yeah.
3 gel 100s.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing that I don't count as, the only thing I don't factor in for carbohydrate wise in races is Red Bull.
Yeah.
I drink that in my aid stations. I track the caffeine, but I don't track the carbohydrate. The carbohydrates are extras, but whereas the caffeine, and that's solely in races, my caffeine is from Red Bull, and that's tracked.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't track. I don't count.
How much caffeine's in the can of Red Bull?
80 milligrams.
Right, I've got something slightly different this week for Tales from the Trails. I'm going to do a couple of quick fire questions for you, Tom.
Ooh.
Yeah. What is your favourite race?
Tarawera 100k.
Is that New Zealand?
In New Zealand.
Amazing. Best race memory?
Being on the start line of UTMB in 2022 after my knee surgery.
Nice. Most random food that you've eaten in an aid station?
Pickled gherkin.
Niche. Really niche. And what is the favourite country to race in? Your favourite country to race in?
USA.
God save America.
America.
Nice.
So there we go. That is that is the end of this episode. I really hope that you have enjoyed it. Please, again, make sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to on. Huge thanks to all of our sponsors, and huge thanks to my co-host, Brett. I look forward to coming into your ears next Wednesday.
See you next Wednesday.
Thanks very much.